Former Intelligence Minister Ronnie Kasrils joins me to talk about the alleged shenanigans at the country's intelligence services. Kasrils is also the author of the book, A Simple Man, The Enigma of Zumas. So he should know what we're talking about here this morning. And Mr. Kasrils, a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you.
Now, this is a damning report about what transpired at the intelligence services. From your experience as former minister, when do you think this breakdown started happening?
Well, I saw the signs within 6 months of becoming minister in 2004, midway. And there were people who I knew from exile, from the underground, who I liked and trusted to some degree. I say to some degree because we had problems in exile in terms of the ultra-secrecy of our intelligence services, and there were certain things that from the MK side, Joe Modisi, Hani, myself, where we objected. You know, Chris Hani said that he didn't know how the crowd would behave, the intelligence security, once we were back in the country. He had that kind of doubt because we had a lot of instances where they were really overbearing, where people were detained without real cause, where even this top command of MK couldn't get the facts. So Chris Hani was on record for sounding that alarm. When I became minister, Mr. Modisi, 2004, getting into 2005, do you remember there were a fake or hoax email saga?
I remember that, yeah.
And it shocked me because I began to see that this was coming from within the National Intelligence Agency. We began probing. The emails were what we've come to see. The fake reporting, the slanders, the smears, and one saw that it was basically to reinforce Jacob Zuma's claims about a conspiracy by President Mbeki against him. It was absolutely clear. I'll come back to that because the alliance swallowed it hook, line and sinker when I blew the whistle.
Now, let's just take a step back and try and establish what the intelligence services are supposed to do, what the purpose of the intelligence service. Because as we discuss this, there are certain issues that I would like to probe and raise with you, right?
Yes.
We've got crime intelligence, which is different and separate from the intelligence services. So what's the purpose of
And then there's the military intelligence as
on
well,
top of that, yes.
So intelligence is meant to provide forewarning to government of the day. It's supposed to be non-partisan, whichever party is in power, to bring forewarning about threats that are arising which threaten the security and stability of the country and against the people. That's what it's supposed to do. And if they paid attention to that, they would have, for instance, seen in the economic sphere what the Guptas and the Watson brothers, what Bosasa Guptas were all up to, capturing the state, siphoning off the funds, etc. Eyes off it. Why? Because instead of looking at that narrow focus, they were looking on this broad focus of political security and intelligence, which meant looking into your affairs, you as media, looking into the right to know NGOs who were raising their doubts or questions about government, and into the affairs of people like myself. In other words, the ANC, the politicians, the communists, the trade unions, and in the first place, not the opposition, which they shouldn't look into either unless there's illegality, but factionalism, to look into the political grouping of the alliance to protect, first of all, bring in Jacob Zuma, and then to go to extraordinary lengths to protect him.
Now, the intelligence services are supposed to provide forewarning, right? Early warning, so to speak,
That's
and
it,
even
yeah.
advise, I suppose,
Yeah.
to the policy makers, decision makers in the country about the threats that the country may face in the future, not as things happen, right? So how much harm do you think South Africa may have suffered as a result of what the High Panel probe found?
You know, it's a wide range. People will immediately see the damage done in terms of the ripping off of the funds of the fiscus and of the state, money going into the deep pockets of, from Jacob Zuma to the Guptas and ministers, the corruption of government. But the other aspects in terms of the security, you know, there is the question of threats from abroad. Every country knows this, that outside powers are interested in what's taking place, and they resort to espionage. It's one of the key things that intelligence security services need to be aware of. When your intelligence services are so involved in themselves, they're not looking at that kind of threat. In all the years since 94, has there been one espionage agent caught? Nothing, zero. And yet, how many ministers, especially from the time Jacob Zuma was there, you remember Mahlobo and all of these guys, foreign agents working for espionage,
well,
CIA.
I mean, we even had a Minister of Finance fired, and the other one called back from on an overseas trip as a result of that. So
exactly. Yeah. So they raised that in order to smear people, but I wouldn't know the extent to which foreign agencies have been able to create inroads into South Africa because of this, what has happened. They must have been laughing in relation to what our people were up to, giving them a chance to get on with what foreign intelligence services are out to do. And South Africa is a country they want to know a lot about.
Sure. And Mr. Kasrils, I have to ask you this question. I mean, not only were you Minister of Intelligence, but you've been an intelligence operative yourself, as you indicated earlier on, and even authored the book that I mentioned in the intro, A Simple Man, The Enigma of Jacob Zuma. What did you make of his response to this report when it was published this past week? I mean, the High Panel report.
You know, it's so dangerous, the warning he gives. He says, you've opened a can of worms, you're going to regret it. And he says, and what kind of panel? 2 spies on that panel. You know, this is one of the big cancers in our society, where people willy-nilly, when it suits them, say Cyril Ramaphosa was a spy, Sidney Mafamadi was a spy, you know, whoever. I'm just giving names. I don't mean them. But we know there just was in Parliament this accusation. Where are these facts? It's so serious when you say there's spies in the Commission or in Cabinet or whatever. Don't throw these hyenas out in this way. If you want to really be serious about it, provide facts. It goes back, it's not the first time. This is part of Jacob Zuma's modus operandi. And has anybody actually been proven?
But let me ask, I mean, he's a former president. He's not just an ordinary person making this accusation, right?
Yeah.
And therefore, he was privy to privileged information.
Yes.
Some of it probably exclusively to himself. Yeah. So it may be that he knows something that many people do not know, including from his days as an intelligence operative alongside you.
I think as an intelligence officer or leader in exile, I have very serious doubts about his ability. And so have many people within the services. They scoff at it. There was the case of Tami Zulu, who MK, Modisi, Chris Hani, myself and others were saying this man is an outstanding commander of MK. He might have made some mistakes. There were casualties. That was part of the struggle. Where are the facts that this man was a spy against us? Never forthcoming. In the end, the poor man was released from a year of 18 months dreadful detention and died within a few days. I mean, this goes back. Zuma has constantly put up a wall against talking about Tamizulu. If he's a president, you judge the president, the man, the woman, the minister, when they make a statement, Mr. Modisi, you judge them on whether you've got confidence and trust, which you have or have not, depending on the record of the person. When Jacob Zuma makes these statements, who takes him seriously except an inner circle around him? Nobody anymore. He's totally lost credibility because of one misdemeanor after another. So you can only say, please, where are the facts? Put the facts there. Don't just say there are spies. It goes back to him from the time he was correctly dismissed by Mbeki because of his connection with the fraud and the corruption of the Shabir Sheikh. Mbeki then dismissed him, and he started crying, conspiracy, there's a conspiracy to prevent me becoming president. I challenged Jacob Zuma. I don't come out with these things lightly now. It's on record. It was in the Mail and Guardian in those years to say, where is the conspiracy? Put it to us. Don't say there's a conspiracy. Anyone can say that. Where is it? Oh, no, Comrade Ronnie, not yet. The time's not ripe. The time was never ripe to this day for the facts. He just waves the red flag conspiracy to protect himself, and he's got the acolytes around him. They're less now, but my God, Mr. Modisi, when he was president, how they all formed a circle around him to protect him.
Mr. Ronnie Kasrils is the former intelligence minister and our guest, and we continue our conversation with him in a moment. Don't go away.